to the Q&R code. We are Quinn and Riley, two redhead twins from Wyoming who love horses and the garden and art and sourdough and each other, most of all. And we hope that today is your peaceful day and that you are joining us for a little more peace, fun, optimism, girlhood, loving of life,
silliness, empowerment, joy,
inquisition.
Inquisitiveness, perhaps?
Yeah.
There will be no inquisition during the episode.
You can talk to us, but just know we will not talk back to you. Just kidding. Happy day today. We have Riley's beautiful spring arrangement once again that she handcrafted herself with her two bare, beautiful hands and a dream, and she made it her reality. And these are the beautiful things in life that we have the power to do.
I feel so lucky to be sitting next to not one but two beautiful sisters today. Actually, many. All of these little flowers are our sisters, and it makes me so happy to see spring flowers not only outside of the home but inside of the home. I feel so lucky and blessed that I got these leftover flowers from someone's arrangement that I was able to craft into a little something of my own. I actually got to have a virtual arranging session with my twin where she did some journaling and I did some floral arranging, and it was good. It was great. That's something we're going to get into a little bit more in the episode, but up top, updates for you. One thing that I meant to bring up that I forgot to last week, so now this is a podcast episode from a couple weeks ago from Grace Beverly's Working Hard, Hardly Working podcast, one that we have brought up several times, and I don't know the exact title because it was lengthy, but it's on creating I think she called it a news diet, but how to consume your news more consciously. I really appreciated that listen. It's only about a half-hour podcast and discusses how when we are only encountering the news by accident, it can be very jarring and not lead to actually great comprehension and understanding of the news, and yet that is the way that most people in our age group now report their interactions with the news is encountered by accident, mostly on social media, but also just out and about, and creating a time that's more intentional for you to sit down and read your saved articles, or if you subscribe to a certain reporter or news outlet. And that's something that I appreciated, because you know that we don't believe in ostriching and putting your head in the sand and not knowing what's going on. But I have also experienced a lot of
that's crazy
anxiety and overwhelm about how do I get my news without just making it feel like my daily life is like seeped in the worst headlines in the world. So passing that along to you today. Anything you want to share with the class?
I like that. I think another word we could use, or animal that we could use as an analogy for that, is sand crabbing.
Yeah.
Think that being empowered in the way that you consume information in general is great. What was I just going to say about it? My Pinkerton barking at the door distracted me.
Pinkerton lately has been making herself known on the podcast. She said, "Don't forget about me."
Yeah. She's like they do not talk about us enough, and they actually don't value us enough. So I have to.
Horses. Everyone loves equine.
Everyone loves the goat. No one talks about the dogs. No, it's just that we only complain about them.
On the podcast, we never bring up the dogs.
Yeah, that would be that's the kind of delusional world that she's living in. No, just kidding. She's such a good girl. I wish that everyone could see how cute her little skull is. I'm like, why can I tell the exact shape of your skull within your head? It is so cute. But I was going to, I don't know. It's not coming back to me. But
speaking of skulls, the other day I asked Brayden if you and I were just down to our skeletons, if he thought he could still tell us apart, and he's like, "Why do you say stuff like this to me?" I'm like, "I'm just curious."
That is crazy. Yes, he would be like, "This one's back is a little more messed up."
I said you should look for Quinn's scoliosis.
Yeah, he's like, this one slightly more strong boned, just a slightly healthier body. This one slightly more weak and decrepit. But overarching positive for both of our skeletons. I sure love finding bones and things out and about, and it's so sweet because my husband Sean knows me and knows what I love, and he went on a little solo backpacking adventure last weekend, and solo with Pinkerton, so not truly alone, but I thought it was so sweet that what he was so excited that he came back with for me was a couple of elk teeth and
so cool.
Some beautiful blue stripy feathers, and that is exactly what I wanted. So I will say he told me that the teeth were attached to a full jawbone that he did not feel like packing up and down with him, and I was like, that is good because more people can enjoy it. However, it did give me a pang of scarcity mindset to be like, I want the jawbone. Are you kidding me? But I'm grateful for just my little teeth and hope that more people can be fascinated by nature and animals by encountering that.
Yeah, it's so special to come across a good find like that. Like we told you guys about the bird's nest that got abandoned outside my house, and little items that are so beloved. Did make me think it's interesting how as a species we have such a different relationship to humans than other animals, because imagine the horror if Sean had said that he found a human jaw on the ground and he just ripped out their teeth and brought a few back for you.
Yeah, that is not my love language specifically, and that is interesting. It's like, to me, so cool. I don't know though, because in The Lion King, when you come up on the graveyard of all the animal skeletons, that is creepy and sends a shiver down the spine. But somehow,
but the
animal
graveyard in that context is creepy, but it actually is so cool that elephants are a species that do, I don't know if burial would be the right term, but there's like ritual.
They're just burying themselves with sand over their head.
They do have like death rituals that people have observed, and how like when there is a dead animal from their herd, they will circle them. I don't know exactly what behavior they do, but I just remember reading about the fact that they like have mourning rituals.
That is really interesting and
is
special.
One of countless examples of why we should think very open-mindedly about plants and animals and their ability to think, feel. There's been such a conception in a lot of colonizing culture that human supremacy, other animals don't dream, think, feel, have relationships. They're just existing to have their, genetics continue to pass on, which we're all part of that system that is natural selection and trying to get your genetics passed along. However, I think that it's a little delusional for people to act like, oh, we understand this about animals and they don't have feelings because we know so little even about the human brain that we get to embody and experience and discuss and communicate about, that anything that is so certain of people thinking we know this to be true about our wild and wonderful world is, to me, I think that there's so much more to learn and understand, and so many mysteries of life that we'll probably never know. But until you've walked 2 moons in your elephant's shoes, I would not purport to say that you understand what they are feeling or not feeling.
Yeah, I agree with that, and think that we actually do have a lot of information out there. I think there's a lot of misinformation about animals and their feelings, and even just anthropomorphizing with animals of like, oh my gosh, that dog's cheeks are like this, so it's smiling, it's happy, when they're like, save me, get out of my bubble. So I think there is actually a lot that we do know about animal behaviors and emotions from awesome people that have, it's a lot of the time that type of information comes from people who genuinely have dedicated their lives humbly to understanding species, and it takes a lot to really step out of the lens of like, what do I want to believe about this animal, or am I choosing to believe or putting on it, and actually observing and interpreting. And I think there is, of course, like you're saying, there is a lot left that we may never know, because, it's like the classic, I would love to know what my horses are thinking, but they don't speak English. But there is a lot that I can learn by just being an observer and watching over time. That's a big journey I am on with my equine training, is really trying to take my emotion and preconceived notions and assumptions away when I'm training, and just genuinely be still and be present and observe, and over time be collecting my own quote unquote data about their responses and how they look and act and process and breathe, and even, blinking their eyes and lowering their head, like these different signals that they give us. I'm so very impressed by people that are extremely aware of and attuned to animals, and I think some people have a gift that comes by a lot more naturally, but I don't think that anyone that has that doesn't put work in. I think it takes a lot of taking your pride and ego as much removed from the situation as you can, and just humbly showing up to learn from them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think, just to clarify, I wasn't saying we don't know anything about how an animal might feel, but to put like limits on that and say, these is something that has been said in the past about sharks is like, very, because of our human interactions with them, it can be a very negative connotation of like, these are vindictive animals, or they're not social, and all these things, and they actually are really social, and that's something that more scientists have observed, how they're social. It's just maybe different than what we think of for social animals, because, predators often behave differently than prey and whatnot. And to say, also, I've heard people saying, dogs don't dream when they're sleeping and their eyes are darting. This is like, that's not dreaming. And I think that it can have like a certain biological function that is so cool and interesting that I guess it's supposed to be very like healing to their nervous system. But I'm also like, how can you say they're not dreaming? How do you know?
I know they're chasing bunnies.
Seriously, and also it's like, I can't look at Brayden sleeping next to me and be like, he's not dreaming. You can tell. It's like, you don't know. That's someone's subconscious. Like, I don't understand how you would think that you can tell whether or not that's happening. It's just, I don't think there are limits to what is possible. I think the world is just so wild and wonderful to comprehend. It's the same thing with plants that people have thought, oh, plants have no feeling, but why? Do you think that just because it's a very different sort of being than we are? I think that plants are extremely intuitive. You watch a snap pea grow from the ground and they shoot out their little tendrils and they reach for something to wrap onto, and I don't know how you can watch that experience happen and think that there's not any sort of a consciousness there. It's just hard for us to wrap our minds around when they don't have a brain and they don't have the same sort of vessel for consciousness that we do.
Expanding your mind to think of things that we don't experience is interesting phenomenon to me. Even the fact like that there are so many colors that we do not have the ability to see. It's like, how can you can't imagine a color that you've never seen. And there are some people who say that they don't have like they don't see things in their head, like, and I think that that's a thing, like, that blind and visually impaired people have said, is that there's just kind of, I don't want to say nothing, but that it's not playing, especially people that have lost their vision and used to experience, like, with thoughts, visualization. But there are also people that are fully seeing people that do not visualize, like, can't close their eyes and recall the image of someone in their head. And like thinking of that is such a trip to me. And just, we have so much in the world that we share experiences of, and so much that is like separate, and a beautiful thing that makes people and non-human people individuals. And I'm so fascinated by the world and feel so wrapped up in it like a warm blanket. And every day the sunset, I'm just like, how can this be so good? How lucky are we to experience this? And the feeling of wind blowing on your skin when you stand outside, like, there's so much that's so good and that's inspiring me to be creative. And Riley and I are just having the time of our little lives being creators and having the can-do attitude of life is happening now for us. And I think always we know that there are situations that are different from ours, that I think that I'm trying to do better when I speaking about my own situation, instead of like encompassing everyone, because I know that I don't understand everyone's situation. But how I truly feel in my life is that I have a lot of power to do what inspires me, and to seize the day and take, never take a day for granted, and just make sure that I'm really acting on the things I want to do in life and that are important to me. And a big thing for Riley and I is creating and making art, and I'm so excited and proud of the way that we have been prioritizing that, and we've been specifically prioritizing it, having little sessions together, and with one of our besties, Kat. And I just want to make more art with people, and I think we should dive into what we are doing in terms of journaling and the art of collage.
Yes, I think so too. It's been so much fun because Quinn, I think, and Kat really set up to have a virtual collage night and then invited me along, and we live in 3 different states and haven't had the opportunity for a while to gather in person to do art making, but we just felt like there's no reason for that to stop us because we have FaceTime, we have the internet, so we all set up our own little collage stations at our homes and got our laptops set up so we could see each other and chat during it, but we're focusing on making art, and I felt and continue to feel so inspired by that. It's so fun. It's one thing to make art by yourself, which I think is a great practice to have in tandem with, but it's another thing to be able to have buddies to talk to about it, to show what you're working on, to bounce ideas off of, get inspiration from, have that communal aspect of, oh, how are you guys gluing these things on that don't stick so well? Or, I feel like I can push this a little bit more. And I think that we all also, all 3 of us have gone to art school in different capacities. I didn't have a degree in fine arts, but I took art classes, and Kat and Quinn both have art degrees, and so we have, I think, it's fun to have that shared language with people where you're used to giving and receiving feedback, and it doesn't feel like in any sort of way to me a control thing or it's not like, oh, you should do this. It's a very inspiring way that just helps you see more possibility, and it filled my cup so much, but also gave me a addiction where
unquenchable thirst.
Unquenchable thirst. I was like, oh, I want to collage all the time now, and I woke up. This was a fun feeling, but also so funny that I set my alarm, which I don't usually wake up to an alarm. I usually wake up when I'm ready to wake up, and set an alarm. Woke up early so I could get my chores and morning things done in time to collage before work.
I love that. It's such a good feeling to have something that you're like, I'm feeling so motivated and excited to do this. I am going to prioritize that. And you know how I feel that when I get that, I am going to absolutely run with it, because we all know that motivation does not come every day for all of the things. So when you feel that, I'm like, I am running, baby. Like, this is, don't stop me because I'm having a good time. And will be putting my scissors in, ching, 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 glue stick, smear, 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 press. So satisfying. But such a fun part of it for us is like collecting I like that Riley used the word ephemera, just collecting collage supplies and materials, and also being creative, because we did actually end up, after having our first collage night, we all went out and got a few more things to work with. I went to a thrift store and got a few Nat Geo magazines and an old 1970 Life magazine, and I also found a copy of what's called the Horseman's Bible, which I was like, jackpot, learning and cool pictures and words to cut out about horses, because as you all can imagine, that is one of my favorite, most exciting things that I want to make art about. And, but I will say, when I was feeling a little lost before for materials, because as surprising as it is, I have a few magazines lying around, but really didn't have much and didn't have stuff I really wanted to cut up. I went and checked my mailbox and had a ton of junk mail and made my first couple of collages in the first long time since I made my last collage with junk mail supplies.
Sustainable baddie. Quinn's the junk mail queen.
Thank you. And it did feel really good because it's like, hey, this is stuff that so often it's just throw away, whatever, recycle, but just dispose of. And I had to turn on my little artist creative lens to say, I know I can find beautiful things in here and inspiring things in here. And though there was the noise of so many ads and big, bold, in your face stuff, I did find a lot. So if you can dream it, you can do it. But it's been fun because now we are definitely just operating with the lens on what is around us that we can preserve through art in this way. And so fun and sweet for me to think of the generations before us that were doing as much scrapbooking as they were. I'm like, you guys are collage baddies. If you're a scrapbooker, are you kidding? Some scrapbooks are like such touching pieces of art. Of course, they're the ones where it's just, like photos in a little plastic sleeve, and that's still so special and beautiful to flip through. But some scrapbooks, I'm like, the elegance, the creativity, the thorough journaling and documentation of a life, like that's so special and beautiful. And we're just feeling so inspired and called to create in everyday moments and feel like we are grabbing back our power and letting ourselves tell the story of our lives that we want to tell.
And what's so fun about collage that I feel like then will be a great application to other mediums and areas of life is that it's not very proper. You could make a very neat trim collage if you want to, but yeah, I feel very free to just rip, paste, add. It's in my journal. It's for fun. It doesn't have to be any particular way. And we grew up with scrapbooks and scrapbooking, but I do feel like as I got older, I felt more like, again, what we talked about with my journaling, I also felt with my scrapbook of like, I feel like it needs to look so chic and put together and good and just so. And my mom has such a way of putting things together so nicely and cleanly with beautiful handwriting with the captions that then I was just feeling like I'm just not doing it at all because I don't have the time to sit down and plan it out for it to be as good as it wants to be, and I don't want to take this like nice scrapbook and just not do a good job with it. And I feel like with the collage it's so much fun because it's scraps and junk mail and stuff that is just, there's nothing more precious necessarily about it. You can obviously use whatever materials you want to, and if you want to use those precious things, but starting out, that's not what I've been doing. I've been using scrap material that then you don't feel pressure about because it's either going to be in the recycling bin or used in your art. And doing that and putting it together and then feeling so satisfied with the result, it's just such a reminder of like, it doesn't have to be that one way. And I love a elegant, very minimal or well put together scrapbook, and maybe there will be a time and place where I'm more inspired to take that route. But I'm also like, this is fun for it to just be messy and unserious, and I can take things like my photos and these memories that I'm collecting and make still a memory book, a scrapbook in that way, where it's not maybe what I would have conventionally thought of it, but it is still holding your memories. And something Quinn has been doing is doing collage that leaves space to still write in, so you can do your journaling or your diary if you're wanting it to be a little bit more of a chronicling of events situation within that frame. And I just am feeling so grateful that you guys pulled me into it, because I had been having the hankering to open up my world in this way, but needed friends to ignite the spark, I guess.
Yeah, it's, you sometimes just need a little push to get the ball rolling, and then it's like, oh wow, this has been at my fingertips the whole time. Like, I have this whole world I can tap into so easily that sometimes it really is. I do believe in the phrase of it's just starting. That's the hardest part. You just have to take the first leap in so many cases with things in life, and then you build, and it's very confidence building, and it's very affirming to do something like that is a physical thing that you can feel and see and show, and see the buildup of progress, being like, oh, one collage, next, two collages, next, like, you know, to feel. And it's not just about more is better, but to me, practicing creativity, like, in my life and in my mind, kind of more is better, because it's just as expression of self and a way of tuning in to be present with yourself and life and the world around you. I think what's cool with the collage is Riley was talking about it feeling less precious, and I think that for me, that's a practice I'm growing in, is actually letting it feel like, okay, I do not have to treat this as precious. But I think a beautiful little nuanced aspect of it is when you are looking at things with the lens on of, I want to use this to create, there is such a special and deeper appreciation for the thing. Like, now I've been flipping through magazines, which I've always appreciated, and I love photojournalism, and I love images and little things. Like, we've always had that lens on, that life is art. That was something that was instilled in us since we were such little kids. And once again, so grateful for our parents. With every trip we took, it was like a requirement that we took our journals and that we would have a couple of crayons or pencils so we could do little, right, what is that called? That we...
or not etching.
Shoot, what's it called? Not an impression. Anyway, you say that you put the coin on one side and then put a piece of paper over and use your crayon or pencil to draw on it, and it makes a print of that image. It's so cool, and I'm sure we'll think of the name of it. But
that term evading me?
That's just something we've been very, like, encouraged to do, and to have moments in, especially, you know, special moments in our life that now looking back, I am like, thank goodness our parents did that, because now us, like, flipping through some of our supplies and little things in nooks and crannies in our homes, we've been finding old images and finding old journal entries. Riley, the queen of journalism, being like, at 8:43 this morning, we not sparing the details, but it's so cute because there are, like, little names she's been bringing up of people in her lives in the past and things that I'm like, oh my gosh, I forgot about that. And now literally it is clear as day, like it just happened from you having that journal entry. And that's a special thing to build import and confidence in yourself and your own life story. I don't think to be focusing on individualism, but to be like, yeah, this is a special this is a very special thing I get to do, is go through this journey we call life. But about the materials thing, like, we are so now
this
having
journey
this
we call life.
Yeah. We are so having this mindset being like, oh my gosh, you know, valuing things around us so much and seeing the potential for how we could create with them, that all three of us, Kat, Riley, and Quinn, when we've been having our now multiple collage nights, the cunty collage kids, just kidding.
And we are all like every day texting each other being like, I
Collage.
wish we could collage every evening.
Yeah. But we have all found things where we're like, oh, this thing is so special and cool, but like, look at this backside, or should I save this for something more impactful? So I think it's special because it does put the lens of like, we are just fascinated by what is in our hands and people's art or photos of the world, or, you know, people's words that they've typed out. And it does give you the push to be like, I see this, I acknowledge how special this is, and still it's better to use it. And it's letting me have more of that feeling of freedom and letting go, and not clinging on, holding on so hard to like, save that for a rainy day, save that for something better, being like, there's no time like the present. Let's use this. Let's appreciate this. We can very much acknowledge that it's special. And even the amount of learning that I'm doing, just flipping through a Nat Geo magazine and being like, oh, this spiritual site from 11,600 years ago, that might have been the first place that any humans built for a center of community, that before we had a completely different notion of what inspired building and community. And now, like, archaeologists and historians are questioning, wow, was the first thing that ever brought humanity to build a very seriously, like, work-intensive infrastructure, the feeling for community around spirituality. Like, there are just things like that I've been learning, and little bits of education that I get to pick up along the way on this journey to create, and feeling like I get to feel my cup filled by this. And if you love it, let it go type of thing, where it's like, I'm going to use this, put this forward, and not cling onto something for the fact or the reason of like saving it for something better.
Yeah. There are definitely certain materials that I have feeling like this is just too good. I need to use it for the right moment. But also because I've been put into this mindset now of noticing more the opportunity for that use, it's a good reminder, like, okay, but more will come around. You don't have to hold so tightly to something. This isn't the last opportunity that you'll ever find an interesting image. And it reminds me of, but I'm forgetting the term, I believe they are a professor or some sort of academic that studies society. Dang it, I'm like totally blanking on the information that I have about this term. I think, is it called communal effervescence or group effervescence? If you've heard of this, Quinn, it's something that I know is going to come to me and then feel like, oh my gosh, on the podcast I couldn't bring it up. But they talk about how there is a certain shared experience between people when you're feeling spiritual in the way of you feel elevated rather than feeling grounded on earth. There's this like communal feeling of being a kind of beyond experience, and in religious circles is one of the main ways that people share that feeling, but it's also in like concerts. A lot of the times,
Yeah.
like a shared experience of music or a shared experience of art evokes this feeling where
Yeah.
with others you are kind of experiencing transcendence. And this is a much more minor scale, but I feel like in making art with your friends and looking at their art together, it's such a special way to me to bring you're present, you're making the art, and that makes you be very in this moment, but you also feel kind of outside of the moment and time. It truly is such a amazing way to not dissociate and not let go of the reality of your world. It's not in a way that, doom scrolling is just a numbing dissociative thing. It's like a more presence that kind of gets you beyond, to me, it feels a little dramatic to say, but I don't think it is. Like, it is beyond the like profane earth realm to a little bit transcendent. It's not maybe as intense as certain experiences. There's a scale to that, but art making and hearing, a song that really hits, or reading a sentence that just makes you feel that tapped in feeling that humans are, we can identify with that, where it's like, oh, that is the beauty, that's the love, that's the connection that we all want to feel and live to experience. That's not just the doldrums of daily life. That is like I'd have my
High
channeling
vibrations.
my mom for my French accent for raison d'être. I don't know how you say that, but this is like the reason for all the other stuff, is to be able to share in this feeling with people.
I love that and so agree. And as soon as you brought up the concert too, I know exactly the term. No, as in can put my finger on the term you're talking about. No, as in recall. Unfortunately, not. It's called like community fucking connecting to God.
Quinn's like, that's called Jesus. Next. No, I think it is. I think effervescence is in the term, but
maybe it is. I don't know. You guys will have to do our little research to remind ourselves, but that feeling, it's so true, right? It's so potent, and at the least we can say is it's very meditative to be in that place where you have your focus on something and you're working toward that goal, but it's not this like strenuous, hard feeling. It's a very light, lucky, effortless feeling where it's just like, oh, putting good thing. I mean, who didn't grow up thinking that art class was the best class? I know there were the PE boys.
I was gonna say the gym bros.
Which PE was also an awesome class because you also are getting high off of your endorphins and using your body. But I love those things, and I just am really taking ownership of the fact, like I was touching on earlier, but that I get to choose what I prioritize in life. And I believe that I can reclaim my time in a way that I have definitely been bogged down to believe, like, oh, a certain amount of busyness makes this unachievable, and I am just choosing to reframe because life is not guaranteed. Like, time on earth is so fleeting, and it's so lovely and special. And again, all the, like, I cannot help when I say something on the podcast to be like, guys, I also know tragedy is happening and like sick things. That even more so calls me in to be like, I need to prioritize and put my privilege forward and act on the things that make me a better person for the earth, for myself, for my community. It's all those things that the Q&R code is so freaking passionate about, like gardening, like baking, where it's the feeling of sharing something you've baked with someone. It's like, yeah, and people will ask me, they're like, you are so busy. Like, how are you baking sourdough and making art? I'm like, it is not that it's a special me thing. I am not above anyone else's capacity. I am just feeling so determined in life. And I've always had this very much like passion and fire in myself to go big and like really just take life by the horns. But sometimes my mental state has made me feel like, oh, but life is happening to me, and like but I need time to be in my misery, and I'm shut down, and I am just choosing to say,
It's like, oh, my day is so full with moping right now.
yeah, depressed o'clock, no time. I am choosing that, like, no, this is the thing I am going to prioritize, and it brings so much confidence, fulfillment, like it's just the zest of life stuff to me.
Even though we have always been very busy people, I feel like it was a little while ago. Honestly, I think we did a good job of this in college, of realizing like I can choose to shed that coat of armor that says I'm busy and say my life is very full. Busy makes me feel like I'm in a rush and I don't have time, and that my time isn't mine, that I like my schedule is full and it just is, and this is what my life is like. And that for me evokes sometimes for how wonderful our childhood was. I think that I felt very busy as a kid, and I felt like our family was in a rush, and I felt like I always had somewhere to be, and I didn't have the time. And I think stepping into adulthood, when you get to create your own schedule and you can reclaim that, I realized I have a lot to do. I have a lot to get done, but it's my choice, and I am choosing these things, and I get to build my schedule. Do Quinn and I continue to strive for more time management skills? Yes. However, I think that my time management is better when I ensure that there's time for the things that feed my body, mind, soul, spirit, relationships, all of this. I don't think that it's balanced to put more emphasis on your professional life than your spiritual life. I just don't think that makes any sense for the way that everyone is going to feel when they're at death's door. I think that we all know, like, prioritizing. I don't want to live a life that was devoid of art and joy because I was like busy making money. Clearly, I think
because we got bills to pay and mouths to feed.
Yeah, I think that you guys know, if you're listeners to this podcast, that Quinn and I aren't gonna push you to emphasize your career over the other aspects of your life. If that is something that brings you a lot of joy and whatnot, like, I think that you can put more time and energy towards that if you want to than Quinn and I do, because we care about that. You know that Quinn and I care about putting our energy into those things, but also Quinn's career isn't, I was going to say Quinn's career isn't horses, but it low-key kind of is. It's just the way you think about things. And in any case, I feel like when it's the time question, the busyness question, if you were to actually chronicle your day and poke holes in all of those stories that you tell yourself, you realize that these are all choices. This isn't happening to you. Some of us have far more freedom over our schedule than others, and that is not to be discredited. But specifically, when it comes to the screen time question, I think that if you look at your screen time for the week, you can take some radical ownership with yourself and say, do I not have time, or am I spending my time elsewhere?
Mm-hmm. And again, like, it would be crazy to act like, no, every person has just as much availability in their schedule to make this happen as me. No, as Riley and I are saying, because of the good fortune and privilege I have in life and the planning that I did, like, yes, I can take a certain amount of credit for it because I did plan very hard to be like, it is so important to me that the career I go into is malleable to accommodate my passions and my lifestyle. And so, I'll give myself some credit. I also, given being gifted the privilege and good fortune that I am, it would be a crying shame to be a miserable person living someone else's idea of what my life should look like. For what and for who? Like, I'm so fortunate, and I really, really believe that as a tattoo artist, balancing my time at home, being passionate, making art, getting sleep, eating delicious food, exercising, training my animals, cultivating my relationships, all of that makes me show up so much better to fire on all cylinders in my career when those moments are happening. And I'm a better artist. I'm better at customer service. I am pouring from a cup that is full and expansive, that is ready to be like, let me flourish this on you. Let me send my love this way. Like, and have it be a genuine thing that then even ends up building me up and not just depleting me. And something my mulemanship mentor Ty Evans says is, he's not busy, he is passionate. And that is the reframe that I am taking on, because guys, I have so much empathy, and my heart goes out when people are feeling, I know how it feels to be in a busy phase where it just feels like, okay, burnout is coming. I'm scared, like I am overworking, undersleeping, not serving myself. I have so much passion and heart to give out for that, and I cannot explain how many times I have gone through that in life. And I also think, can't we all say and be honest that that is low vibrational and like such a bummer when it's like, how are you? And it's just like, so busy, nothing ever changes, my life is always busy, the norm. I want more for us. I want more for myself. I want more for other people. I don't want that to be, that's just the story of the way life goes, just working the week away. Like, I understand that balance is absolutely needed and jobs are needed for most people. And I also genuinely believe that mindset and radical extreme ownership of your life and your story changes so much. Like, think of the type of people you meet that you're just like, whoa, the blessing you are walking on this earth, being such a badass. Like, they're a parent who is such a good, kind, giving, open-hearted parent. They work so hard at their job, and they work longer hours than most people, and they still, every time, whoever it is, how they show up in your life, they're just like, they are positive, and they're like, it's a beautiful day, my friend, how are you? And giving, and that their workload is crazy, but they are choosing that the head they have on their shoulders is, what a blessing and a privilege I am to be able to work this hard in life. And that mindset is a choice, and it's something that I'm really passionate about us leaning into.
We're definitely in an era of reframes, and I think that it's very beneficial overall to the atmosphere of my life, and that's why we want to share it with you, because it's not that that can't be true, that you're feeling busy and overworked and whatnot, but I don't want to be contributing to myself having a negative energy and a negative experience. And I think that what we speak about our lives matters, and the stories that we tell to ourselves and others do create the life that you live. And it's not to say that you can manifest your way to happiness. I think that it takes effort and steps, but if I'm in the habit of saying my life is miserable, I'm so busy, I don't have time for myself, you are going to create a life where you feel miserable and you don't have time for yourself. So one of the quickest fixes that you can do before figuring out the finances and the time and all of those other things is saying, whoop, I am going to pull in that energy, and I feel busy, but I don't have to, again, wear it like a coat of steel. You can choose how you speak about yourself and what your life looks like, and that, I think, is sometimes the biggest thing that can change somebody's entire outlook on life, is just how they present it to themselves and others. And we are not advocating for toxic positivity. I am advocating for empowering yourself and not being your own anchor that's going to weigh you down, because you deserve more, and we can all treat ourselves with the dignity and respect that we deserve. So with that, I think everyone should do a little collage project. Even if you set the timer for a 10-minute collage, we were making collages that are wallet sized, that you can just stick in your next card to someone, or give to a friend, or keep as a little inspo, whatever it is. And your collage doesn't have to be too crazy. It could also be a little sketch with a button that you glue onto the piece of paper. But yes, I think that you might find it's very satisfying, and you will want for more.
Yeah, that's the thing, is you get started and all of a sudden collaging is prioritized over the laundry pile. I would not be speaking from experience. Oh, wait. But you could also try writing down, today will be my peaceful day. And every day. That's how I feel. So, I am just riding this high of having stayed centered on my word for 2026. My word is centered, and feeling just like, yeah, I am just, when something strays to the side and I'm like, ooh, panic, stress, ooh, fear, uncertainty, anxiety, I'm like, down. No, it is just brought right back down the middle to center, and I am choosing to live in my today, in this moment, in my present, and life is feeling pretty awesome.
Hell yeah.
Let's all do our part to conserve some frickin' water, people. I know that I am trying to take extreme ownership of the way that I am using water and showing up in the world, and I don't think any of us need to strive for perfection, but I think that we can all strive to be better and more aware of our beautiful Mother Earth. Appreciate you all.
Who's the guy that does parenting videos on Instagram, and he always ends his videos, do better?
I do not know.
Well, do your best. Thanks for listening. Goodbye.
Goodbye.